Hello, everyone, and welcome to Shaper Sessions. My name is Jake,
And I'm Russ.
and today we're doing a friend project.
Yeah, we've got Amanda Russell, who designed a really slick-looking dartboard cabinet, and we're going to cut a couple parts from a really interesting curved rail panel door. So Jake's got this curved rail off to the side here. You can see what we're working with.
Yeah.
Really cool templated curve on that, and we're cutting bridle joints for every corner. You can see a little bit of that on this panel on the overhead cam over here. Check that out. Really nice joinery on the side. So we're going to finish out cutting one of these profiles. We're going to cut some bridle joints, and then we'll also cut a panel to match the inside.
A cork panel.
Because you don't want to stab your nice hardwood cabinet.
Yeah.
You want to stab some soft cork with the darts that I know you never miss, Jake, but
Oh, no, I sometimes
I do.
whiff it. As always, folks, this is a live show, so please ask your questions in the comment section. Either our support team will answer it as we go, or they're going to save the really juicy ones for the end of the show, where we do a Q&A, we do fun giveaways, and to enter into that giveaway,
There will be a poll question that pops up on the screen halfway through the show, so you're going to want to hang on for that poll question. And then once you've answered that, you're going to want to hang on for that Q&A segment where we give some stuff away. We're going to give away some router bits today, and I think a swag pack would be cool.
Okay.
Before we get started, I also want to mention that this is the start of our Back to the Shop promo, so you'll find out more about that halfway through the show as well.
Excellent.
But without further ado, I think we should go ahead and finish out cutting this profile. What do you think, Jake?
Let's round it out.
Cool. So Jake has this set up with AutoPass here, which means that even though he's already cut about half of this out, he is going to be able to come back and just pick up right where he left off by returning to that dot. So that's where we're going to start. We've got 2 passes left. Let's let it rip.
Okay.
If you're new to Origin, I have to say the cool thing about Origin is that it's auto-correcting for you to keep you right on the line of that template as you go around the profile of this part. And if you leave that corrective range, Origin is going to automatically retract and save your work. That's where this cool pick up where you left off feature of AutoPass comes into play. You know, if you fall off the side of your work, you want to be able to pick back up right where you left off. Also, if you decide to take a lunch break, you want to be able to pick back up right where you left off. So we've got most of this done, and now that Jake is at full depth, he's coming in to take just a little finishing pass off the profile of this part to bring it exactly to size. We're going to go through all of the settings for routing profiles when we cut the back panel of this cabinet. We'll also talk about some interesting material stuff, routing cork. But to start the show off, we just want to show you how Origin works. So you can see that as Jake's moving around, he's got the crosshairs roughly over top of that dotted line. The point that's floating around inside that circle shows where Jake's spindle actually is, because Origin's correcting for him all the time to keep him on the dotted line. And then as he comes to the end, the spindle's going to pick up and say, hey, you're done.
All right.
What do you think we show that on the camera off the side there? Pretty cool view. This part on the workstation shelf, very nice. And we could even lay these parts on top of each other. I think that really drives home the repeatability of the machine.
Exactly.
So you already cut these parts to length, right?
I did. So it's exactly 12 inches wide. And I'm really just cutting that curve.
Don't want to make you concentrate too hard while you're peeling that up. You knew it was exactly 12 inches wide because there's a really cool Shaper Hub project for this.
Exactly.
So before we get too far into this, I want to show you the Shaper Hub project and what we're actually working on today. Let's pop over to the laptop. This is the dartboard cabinet by Amanda Russell. Amanda is an associate editor at Fine Woodworking Magazine, longtime apprentice of Phil Morley, and she makes some really great work. So check this out. You can see the one door open here, a little bit of a close-up here. This is a classic rail and style panel door with the addition of this really tasteful curved rail at the top and then also a kerf bent laminated arched top to the cabinet itself that matches the curved rail at the top of each door. So this is the part that we just cut out. And you can see also here the cork on the inside of the panel. If I go back to this other photo, on the outside of that panel, you can see she used sycamore for this. We've got some walnut veneered plywood that we're going to use. Pros and cons to each. We would construct this a little bit differently if we were using solid hardwood. We'll talk about that when we get to routing this panel out itself. To find this, you are going to go to hub.shapertools.com. That's ShaperHub, hub.shapertools.com. And you can find all sorts of other projects here as well. On the last show, we talked about Phil Morley's shop stool. We've got Matt Kenny's splay leg console table in here, as well as projects from thousands of other folks, really.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet.
Nice.
That's enough about that. Let's get back to setting up parts to route. What do you think?
Okay, so now that we have our profile, we're going to want to put this into a workstation to actually cut the joinery. And we're going to build all the joinery with OnTool CAD.
And we've got two parts. Let me take this apart so that we can see what we're working with. We are going to finish this whole frame today on the rails, which are the parts that go horizontally. Rails and stiles, how do you keep them straight? Rails, I think of them like a handrail. A handrail goes horizontally.
Nice. Okay.
A stile, I don't have a great analogy for that. Why is a stile vertical?
Because if you got style, you're only going up.
Ooh.
Oh.
Okay, so we're gonna cut the finger, I guess, of this bridle joint in the rails, and then we're gonna cut the negative on the stiles, and we've got just one left. This is our last one here. So you've already started.
Yep.
Our last rail.
Yep.
And let's set it up.
Yeah. So similar to mortise and tenons, I kind of treat like this like the tenon and that like the mortise. So I like to cut this first to true to size to a 0-inch offset, and then I can micro adjust those if I need to.
Cool.
But let's go ahead and clamp this up.
We're going to set this up kind of like we would set up any mortise and tenon on Workstation. Today, one thing that's a little interesting is because we have this curved part, there's two ways you can do this. You can make a curved fixture to match that curve in your part itself. Or if you're careful with it, you can also just line this up carefully with that support bar and one of your reference pins. And that'll be enough to make everything repeatable and square. We're also using our brand new Shaper reversible clamps today, and we'll talk a little bit more about those at the break, because those are new and exciting.
Love those things. Okay, I'm going to swap out to my engraving bit so that I can get a good grid.
Nice. Engraving bit as probe.
As a probe, correct. All of our stock today is 3/4 of an inch thick, but our joinery is all the way up to 1 5/8 inches deep. So we're really kind of at the upper end of our cutting flute length and our depth, maximum depth.
Nice. So we're making a new scan so that we can see the part that Jake just set up in here. And the scan is just how you see what you're working with on Origin's screen. It also locks in those dominoes so that Origin knows what it's looking at to keep itself straight when it's going around.
Nice. Go ahead and create a new grid. Make sure that it knows I have a 1/4 inch probe in there. And for this one, I'm going to tuck in behind my material. And just make sure that I'm changing the edge of the bit that I'm using as my probe face.
Yep, because you want that dotted line to line up with the edge of your work. That's the easy way to keep it straight.
1, 2, 3. And I'm going to go one more step. I'm going to open that grid again, and I'm going to modify. Just change the grid increment to 1/4 of an inch.
Now, why are we doing this?
Because I'm going to use the grid as essentially a drawing tool. I'm going to make some rectangles. And instead of entering information, I'm just going to drag and drop. Because I know it's 3/4 inch material, as long as it's split up into thirds.
Everything's a multiple of 1/4.
Yep.
So we're going to drag and drop some rectangles. And the rectangles are the bounding box of the areas that we want to remove, basically.
Exactly.
So on this one, we're going to make 2 rectangles, one on either side of what we want to leave. And then on the style, we're going to make just 1 rectangle that kind of cuts down the middle, what we want to remove.
Yep.
Cool.
Sweet. Kind of hop into Create. Grab that rectangle tool. And instead of entering that information, I'm going to come over here, tap that green button once, drag across, and drag out.
We never do this. This is so simple.
It's so
Why
fast.
don't we ever show doing this way?
And I'm going to do that one more time. Rectangle, green button to drop the first point, and down. Boom.
Cool. Let's pause and look at these shapes for a minute. These are spilling over the sides of your work a little bit. What's
Correct.
going on with that?
Yeah, I want to make sure that I get rid of all the excess material all the way out to the side of my stock. So this inside dimension is my critical dimension. Everything else can be whatever.
Nice. And again, we just made a grid. Everything's based off 1/4 inch increments, and we're just dragging and dropping rectangles for the areas that we want to remove.
Exactly.
Cool.
For today, since we're going so deep, this joint is going to be 1 5/8 inches deep. We're going to use the 6mm 3 flute cutter. Same geometry as our 8mm, just in the 6mm size.
So it's going to fit in those 1/4 inch slots with a little bit of clearance, which is the trick there.
Yeah. If you try to do this with a 1/4 inch bit, you'd have 0 play.
Yeah.
So.
Which you could finesse, but this gives you a little bit of breathing room. And the reason that we're cutting so deep today, I mean, the panel requires it, but we don't go that deep often. It's good to remind folks, though, that Origin can cut 1.7 inches deep. That's its total range of Z travel. So we're really making the most of it today. We're going to 1.625.
All right. I have Z-touched directly off of the top of my part. I always like to do that in a workstation. I'm going to do a couple settings here. We have our total depth of 1 5/8 inches. And let's go ahead and mess with our auto pass settings. The quick note, the cutting flutes on this bit can't actually do 1 5/8 inches all at once. But it's long enough to allow us to do 2 finish passes without any issue.
Okay.
So for this roughing the material pass, I'm going to turn my roughing pass off. Because I don't want it to do that final jog over.
It would be undercutting when it's doing that.
Exactly. I'm also going to get rid of quite a few of these because
we don't need that many passes. Cutting into end grain, you can get away with very few passes.
Yeah, I'll do 4.
Okay.
If that feels good. And then for this initial bit, I'm just going to give it a 0.02 offset. So we'll come back in and manually do a finish pass.
Okay, great.
Sweet. I'll pause after I do everything and just kind of run through my final move.
All right. So you're going to rough this down.
Yep.
And then before we do the finishing pass, we'll talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Sweet.
So here we are starting from the top. Jake is going to go ahead and plunge. The cool thing about AutoPass is that it's ramping down as he goes around this profile. And you can hear the difference between when he's cutting and when he's not. You can also see on the image that shows on Origin's screen kind of when he's cutting and when he's not. It's a good idea, pro tip, to put that ramp in a straight section and also maybe even the section that is off the side of the part just for smoothest results, because the ramp does feel a little bit different from your normal cutting motion. So you can see that Jake started the ramp while he's actually not in the part, while he's off the side of the part. So ramping over here, and you can see as it changes color, that's when he's actually reached that depth. You can see Jake using auto mode in the corners here. When that button on the bottom right-hand side of the screen is highlighted, that means that auto mode is engaged. Jake's doing that by pressing the green button on Origin's handle, and that allows Origin to bring the spindle around these corners really smoothly, even as Jake is stopped and not moving Origin at all. So it can really help you get around tricky corners like this, or sharp corners like this, as smoothly as possible. You can also do it by hand, of course, but auto saves you a little bit of headache.
I love these types of cuts.
Yeah, look at those chips. Those are really nice. That's how you know that's a good cut, when you get these light, feathery pieces of sawdust.
Okay.
Cool. Let's take a look at that and see how it looks.
That is exactly what we're hoping for.
Can we see that on the side camera?
Now we can see it down
yeah.
below.
Look at that. Nice. But it's still a little bit thick because we had that offset baked
Exactly.
into it, right?
So for these final couple passes, I'm going to turn auto pass off.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to bring my offset to 0. And I'm going to take this depth and basically just split it into 2.
Yeah.
So I'll
We
hit.
could do this with auto pass or without. There's 2 ways to do it. We could do it with auto pass.
That's true.
No roughing passes. This is the finish pass, so it's not going to do that roughing move.
Yeah.
And we can also do that in 2 steps as well.
I like that. Let's do that. Roughing pass off. 2 passes.
And all this means is that it's going to stick to this global offset number that you set on your cut settings screen. So we're just going to do another round of auto pass, 2 passes, nice and smooth, down to that depth. And this is going to shave off that last, what roughing pass did you use for that? 0.02 inches?
0.02. Yeah.
So it's going to shave off that last 0.5 millimeter.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm very curious too if we can catch it on that lower camera, because I think it's going to be pretty cool.
That would be cool. Nice. We do have a show on everything AutoPass. If that little bit about, well, what's the AutoPass offset and what's the global offset? If that's confusing to you at all, check out that AutoPass show. Again, AutoPass is optional. So if you want to stick with just inputting straight depths into Origin, you can also do that. Maybe we'll do that on the mortise part of this bridle joint. Just do this completely without AutoPass and show folks what that looks like. When you're doing your finish pass, you want to make sure that you're moving nice and smooth. So you can see Jake kind of slowing down on this so that he gets the smoothest possible finish on this last pass.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Dusty. Love it.
And we don't need to do a test fit or anything right now because this is the first of 2 parts. The second part is the one that we'll do the test fit in. We're calling this the tenon, and we'll cut the mortise next. Looks good, though. Yeah, check that out. Can we hold this up to a close-up cam?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there we go. Sweet.
Okay.
All right. Time for some style.
Time for some style. For this one, you think we should set up from square one, or should we use our workspace that we already have set up?
I think we should go into the workspaces tab to show people where we would find that, but still set it up from square one, just to drive home how you set up that grid and that drag and drop rectangle, which was pretty cool.
Cool. All right. For these, we're just mounting vertically.
Straight up using those support pins. And if we were doing a bunch of the same part, we would reuse even exactly the same workspace and grid that we already had. But since these are different parts, this one is straight, our last one was curved. Our x-axis reference might be in slightly different of a position.
Yeah. Jumping back to my probe.
So we're going to go through the same exact steps that we did a minute ago. Grid, scan, scan, grid, scan, grid, and then design that rectangle.
Yeah.
I got thrown off because you just put the probe in there. I have grids on my mind.
All right. Since I've done this before, and like you mentioned, I just want to show you where we can find that workspace. Go into scan, come down here to workspaces, and I actually have a workspace called style right there. And that's already set up and ready to go. But to really bring it home, let's start fresh.
Nice, quick and easy scan.
Yep. Nice, good, clean image of the top of my material. And that's more for me, just so I can feel better when I see the top of my stock. Grid. Sneak down behind the material. Make sure to change that edge. And touch. 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 Last one, it automatically assumes that you want a 1/2 inch grid, but we're going to change that to a 1/4 inch increment grid. All right, back to that rectangle tool. Same thing, tap that green button to start drawing. Go a little further out. There we go. Tap it again to create.
Nice. And again, you can see that where this rectangle went over the edges of what Jake's working on, he went ahead and extended that rectangle so that he can cut all the way past the edges of this workpiece instead of having kind of rounded cusps from the router bit inside a rectangle that would have been right on size. You need to make sure that rectangle extends past the edges of your workpiece so that you clear all that out. But only on the right and left on this one, not top and bottom, because we're cutting that slot right in the middle.
Make sure Z-touch. It's a short Z-touch, but it's still important. And all right, we are going to 1.625. I could probably cut this to just straight 0.
Straight 0?
Straight 0.
All right. We're going to want more than 2 passes then.
Oh, definitely. So I'll come up here and we'll adjust those.
What do you think? 4 or 5?
I think 4 is good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, not much breathing room in there, but it would be even less if you had that straight 1/4 inch bit.
Exactly. I think the most that I can give it is a 5 thou offset.
Oof.
So I'm just going to be really stable on my cut, and we'll cut it straight to 0.
Straight to size. All right, great. But this is why that 6mm bit is really awesome, because you can do this deep 1/4 inch joinery with it.
Yeah, it's great.
Nice. All right, let her rip. So with this one, we're going to go ahead and cut the, we'll call the mortise side of this bridle joint. We'll go ahead then and do a test fit on this one before we pull this out of workstation in case we need to tune that offset at all. Because this type of joint has a little bit of spring in it because the 2 tabs of this mortise are not connected like a traditional mortise would be, I'm going to say it's going to fit pretty well on the first go. But still, no matter how confident you are, always do a test fit. Very nice.
Okay. Come on over here and...
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
That looks great.
Excelente. That is perfect. With a little bit of glue, that's going to be perfect. All right. Have I mentioned how much I love these quick lamps?
Let's talk about it more in just a minute when we move to the show break. Is there anything else that we wanted to cover before we roll into that? I don't think so. We've got a bridle joint. We've got a curved rail. That's really all we wanted to hit in this first half.
I think so. You got to assemble it, though.
I've got to assemble it.
You know the
we're going to
rules.
do that now. All right. Give me that rail. We got... Okay.
I think there's a sneaky part that I did not mention, but we'll see.
The sneaky part is what? Are you trying to surprise me or throw me off here? Uh-oh.
There's the sneaky part.
We're sticking out a little bit. What's going on here?
One of them is 1.5 inches and one is 1 5/8 inches.
This is the 1 5/8 inches. This one's 1.5 inches.
Correct.
Okay. Well, let's look at that on the overhead camera. So we've got a panel here. That's okay. That's really interesting what Amanda did. You're going to have to keep track of this at home. We've got 1.5 inches style here and 1 5/8 inches style here. And that's to give a little bit of lightness, I would take it, to the inside of the cabinet.
To where the door comes.
Where the door meets together
Yeah.
in the middle. Make that a little narrower so it's not as heavy looking.
Yeah.
Forgot to mention, I think we have Amanda in the chat today, by the way. So if you've
Hi,
got any questions on this project, you should just ask her. And we've got her shop tour coming up here shortly.
Yeah.
Cool. But before we get to that, I think it's time for the poll question.
Yes.
Reminder, if you want to win a router bit or a swag pack at the end of the show, I think we'll give away one of these sweet 6mm router bits.
I would love to. It's a great bit.
Make sure you answer this poll question and answer it in the box that's going to pop up in your screen. This isn't a text chat kind of thing. There's a specific box for this that's going to come up. We would also love if you had like a little conversation about this on the side, though, because it's a fun question today.
It is.
What project are you most proud of building with Origin?
Yeah. Can you answer that on the fly?
Yeah, those tables that I built for the art show a couple of weeks ago.
Absolutely.
That was pretty hefty. We haven't shown that one on the show, but that would make a good one. Routing all of those curves and stacking those parts together. That's where that repeatability really comes into play.
Totally.
Because I made a bunch of curves and then I stacked them all up into one big curved panel.
Nice.
And it worked really well.
Yeah, did.
How about you?
Probably my chair. Yeah.
That's a cool chair.
The giant chair, the throne.
You are 1.5 people's worth of proud for that 1.5 person chair. Cool.
Scale is hard.
Yeah. So we got that. We've also got a couple of cool things to announce. 2 of these we've already talked about before, and the third one is big. So the first one is these Shaper reversible clamps. These are new and they're awesome.
Yeah. So I have them currently in their, let's go overhead. I have them currently in their workstation compatible mode. This section up here slides directly into a T-track and allows you to quickly and easily clamp against the clamping face of workstation. But then we can also just as easily flip them around and they're back into normal clamp mode.
Regular clamp mode.
And if you really want to find all their uses, they also turn into a spreader.
When you accidentally glue something up and decide then that you need to get it back apart.
Exactly.
Cool. We've got these pulled up on the computer here so you can know where to find them. This is at shapertools.com on our accessories page. $46 for a pair, right, Jake?
Yes.
$46 for a pair, bidirectional. Work with T-Track in our MFTs and in Festool Tracksaw tracks and in Workstation, obviously. Perfect for Workstation. And they'll be there in a week or so. Pretty slick. Also, one more thing on the computer. Masterclass Live. I'm not going to talk about this too much because it's sold out.
It's sold out.
But if you want to get on our wait list, click this Learn More button, and that'll direct you to a forum where you can get on the wait list and find out more about future masterclasses. It's going to be a really great show. We've got Yuri Kobayashi coming to teach steam bending, Phil Morley, who's coming to teach joinery with Origin, and Adrian Ferrazzuti, who's coming to teach geometric veneer layups in kind of an artistic way. Phil's project is going to be based on the shop stool that we talked about, that we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks. It's going to be specifically about the 5-fingered joint in the leg of his stool. I guess I can... what did we show on this? Probably not that. No, we showed his cabinet. But it's going to be advanced joinery on Origin with the bridle joint that we showed on the last show. 5-fingered bridle joint. Would you call that a bridle joint anymore or just a finger joint?
I guess it's just a finger joint. It's not a box joint.
So it's going to be like this session, but even more advanced. So that's going to be cool. Last but not least, and this is the big one, we've got the Back to the Shop deal that's up for a little less than another week. We've got about 5.5 days left on this. And when you buy Origin and the complete package with workstation and plate, you are going to save over $550, I think it is, with a free accessory package, Sys1 customizable, double-sided tape, roll of double-sided tape that we use on every single show, 2 of these reversible clamps that we love, 2 training classes with Jake and I, everything that you need to know to get started with Origin, 3 premium project plans. These premium projects will help you break down step by step everything that you need to do to walk through some of these projects, and they teach you skills along the way. And then also a $150 bundle discount when you buy Origin with workstation and plate.
Sweet. Did you mention free shipping?
And free shipping.
And free shipping.
Love that.
Awesome.
I hid the panel over here. Is that where you're getting set up?
I am ready.
Okay. We're going to finish getting set up here while we play Amanda Russell's shop tour, and she's got a little video of this actual dartboard cabinet, which you will see is cool as heck.
Super
We did not have nearly enough time to build one of these before the show because you'll see how intricate and cool it is. But let's go ahead and roll that and check it out.
Yeah, the 3 of us have our own individual spaces here. And here's my corner. I've been here over a year and I'm still unpacking, but I use this cart which rolls out as like a dual shaper pan router station. Got all my tools here, my bench. Yeah, this is a French cleat wall that will eventually hold a lot more tools. But yeah, it's really convenient. I can use my shaper here. All my stuff's right here. Wanted to give you a little tour of the dartboard cabinet as well, because this actually lives in our shop. So, lights up when the doors are open. Cork interior on the inside doors, and this is a little drawer for darts, notepads, whatever you need for playing darts. Yeah, custom brass hardware on this thing. These are book match sycamore panels, but the rest of it's made out of maple. That's what we're gonna be doing in the studio session today, is making one of these doors. So bridle joint has a nice shadow groove on both sides, the cork and the wood panel. And yeah, that's it. But thank you all for joining the shaper session. I look forward to chatting with you.
Excellent.
Did you just turn your mic off?
I didn't, but you turned your mic off.
I turned my mic off?
Someone turned the mic off. We're
what
back.
What the heck? Here we are. We try not to make noise during those. You know, got to be respectful.
Yeah.
But that dartboard cabinet, what an incredible piece of work.
Truly. All right. We are set up to cut one of those interior panels, cork-lined panel for the inside of the rail and style door.
Yeah. And before we start, I want to talk about one thing that we did different from Amanda.
Yes.
The project specifies a 1/4 inch of cork and a 1/2 inch hardwood backing to that. We decided to go with plywood for the show because it's a little more stable, because we didn't want to go through the process of milling and gluing up. We had a lot going on at the shop this week. So to save some time, you can see on the overhead cam here, or even in the front cam, we have some veneer, some walnut veneered plywood here.
Yeah.
Now, because of that, we are going with a thinner backing on that material. So the project specifies a 1/2 inch thick hardwood that is rabbited down so that it fits in this door frame. The panel thickness that would then equal 3/4 of an inch, 1/2 inch hardwood plus a 1/4 inch cork. To fit that in a 3/4 inch frame, you obviously need to rabbit both sides of that.
Yeah.
But what we're doing is we're going to have a 1/2 inch total panel. We are still going to rabbet the cork a little bit to give a little reveal on that side, but we are not going to rabbet the plywood side at all so that you don't see the core in that.
Yeah, exactly. If you watch that video again, slow it down, you can see there's a really nice reveal around those cork panels, maybe 1/8 of an inch, which is really tasteful. And we want that to be cork all the way through.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sweet. I'm doing a 2-board setup right now. I have the board that I am cutting, which is that 1/4 inch walnut ply, the 1/4 inch of cork, and then a 1/2 inch piece of 1/2 inch material that is exactly the same thickness. So these two things, as long as they don't move relative to each other, I can totally do this setup.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start off with a scan.
So to set this up, we're doing the same thing as always. Scan, design, cut. Scan is going to let Jake see this whole thing. And we should probably throw a grid down on this too, just for good practice.
Yeah. I oversized my panel just a little bit. This is fun. The texture of the cork gives you a little bit of resistance, but not too much.
I bet that feels good.
It's kind of nice. There we go. Grid. New. Come down over here.
And that's slick. You're just using the 6mm bit.
I am
One.
because we're not going for ultra precision.
This isn't joinery. This is just a panel outline.
Yeah.
So we can probe with a router bit for this.
Yeah, I care more about overall alignment to my panel than I do, a few thousandths of an inch.
Yeah, it would really suck if you overshot this panel by too much.
Yeah. There we go. Now we can bring in our design.
Yep. All of these files come from Amanda Russell's Shaper Hub project, obviously.
Want to rotate this 90 degrees. I'm going to use the bottom middle anchor.
You like the bottom middle for this, not the bottom left?
I could use bottom left here. Half inch.
Nice. And you've got about a 1/2 inch extra material on this on either side, you said?
I do.
We can zoom in, of course, on Origin screen and see how that template lines up with the actual material in real life, too. So you can see we've got a little bit of overlap on the material beyond the edge of that template.
Cool.
Perfect.
So for that first cut, I think I'm just going to use that 1/4 inch bit, or that 6mm bit again.
Okay.
And I'm going to Z-touch on something firm.
Yeah, best to not Z-touch on the cork because it's pretty soft.
Our total depth is
1/2 inch.
0.5.
Cool. And I think for this one, I don't think we need to do a roughing and a finishing pass because this whole profile is going to be hidden
Exactly.
by the grooves in the frame of the door.
Yeah. I am just going to bump up, probably do it in 2 passes, 2 depth passes. But
okay. And we told folks we were going to show this one with auto pass off, I think.
Okay.
Just to show what it's like to set those depths manually.
All right. Make sure that you are plunging on the correct line. We have
that's
2
important.
shapes here. I have the outside profile, and I have the inside, call it a rabbit.
Rabbit. Yeah, rabbit profile.
That I'll come back in and do after the fact.
And what's nice about this rabbit being built in is that you've got that nice offset already squared away.
Yeah. Get this out of my way. All right. Ready, set?
Yeah, so we'll do a 1/4 inch pass with no offset and then just plug in a new depth, set that 1/2 inch pass with no offset.
Then finish it off.
Cool. So, like I said, AutoPass is optional for use with Origin. So we wanted to show you what routing a profile like this looks like without it. To do this, you're just going to set one depth at a time. So Jake set this to a 1/4 inch depth. He's just following along the outside of this profile. And again, Origin's keeping him on the track. What happens if you go off track here, Jake? You can see Origin automatically retracts to save his work, and he can pick back up exactly where he left off. That blue cut history shows you what you've cut and what you've not cut. So Jake's really cruising around this profile here. Cork is pretty easy to cut. Then when we come down and cut this plywood layer, you're going to see a little bit more resistance, but just taking a 1/4 inch depth at a time is a pretty safe depth of cut to do regardless of skill level with Origin. So I think if you started with this, you would feel pretty comfortable. As always, try this at home and see how it feels for you, because you might feel like you want to bump down that depth of cut or bump it up. And of course, you can put any number you want in this calculator. So we're going to 0.51 inches now. This is a little bit thicker than the total thickness of our panel. So Jake should be easily able to cut all the way through here. And you can hear that there's a little more resistance. Jake's also moving the router a little bit more slowly. But as long as you're smooth and steady with the tool, it will keep you right on the line, no matter what pace you're at. Reminder, everybody, please ask any questions that you might have in the chat. We'll come back and we'll answer all of those at the end of the show. Any questions that Ted isn't able to answer via text. There you go. Red button to retract. And we should probably go ahead and peel up this outer profile just to get it out of the way. It's on there pretty loosely now that it's been separated from the rest of that panel. Make sure to keep a tidy workspace, everyone. Always vacuum up when you're done.
All right. That's pretty neat.
Yeah. We should just make a cabinet with doors like this.
Oh, that's a beautiful cut too.
So we're not going to peel this up yet, because one thing that's cool about this project is that we're going to cut the rabbet integral to this outer profile with Origin.
Exactly. And it's a pretty wide rabbet, or plus, the rabbet plus the reveal. So we're going to use that 16 millimeter cutter.
Mm-hmm.
That did wonderfully.
Ooh.
Just a
Good
reminder,
thing we've got a spindle repair service out there.
that 16 millimeter cutter. There you go. Big old head, still 3 flutes. Makes pocketing just a dream.
Mm-hmm. And makes big rabbits just a dream. I don't know why we haven't done this before. I think this is the first time I've done a big rabbit with a reveal with the 16 millimeter cutter.
Touch off on something firm. We're going to go 16 millimeters. Bingo. this camera out of my way. And you'll see now when I find that cut path, it gets rid of the entire section in just one foul swoop.
Because you can see the cut path that you're going up to. That's the green line that's selected. You can see what we've already cut, which is the blue line. And then this gray area that pops up when you hover over an available cut, that's previewing for you what you are about to cut with this router bit.
Yeah.
And so this is really cool. Yeah, we can do this all in one pass.
We're going to do...
Let's just take an eighth off
an eighth
of this.
off?
Yeah.
Like that. Meaning our dado on the inside should be
3/8
3/8
of an inch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how would you do that?
Router table on this one probably, because we have this curved rail, and that's going to be really hard to set up on Workstation, for example. A lot of the times we will do these stopped grooves or stopped dados for box making on Workstation with Origin, but since we have to do this curved rail, I would go ahead and set up a router table for that. And then you're going to have to just be kind of careful and finesse the start and end points of that groove.
Makes sense.
Cool.
All right. I'm just going to do this in one pass.
Yeah, it should be a pretty light cut. That cork seemed really easy to cut.
Very light. I've turned my speed. So far I've been running that speed at 5 for
spindle speed. Yeah.
I'm going to turn this one down to a 3. This is a bigger bit.
Yep.
I learned from you. The bigger the bit, the slower the speed, because the faster it's actually spinning
at the edge.
Outer edge, the bigger it is.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Do we have any other tips for cutting pork? Or cork. It's dinner time.
Yeah. No, honestly, that was a breeze.
Yeah.
And it left a really phenomenal edge surface.
I told everybody we were going to have some tips, but I realized I didn't ask you how your tests went earlier.
Cut really well.
Just that it's easy.
Just that it's easy.
Just that we're going to be doing a lot of cork projects here soon.
Totally. All right. Well, let's see how this one comes out.
All right. Great. Let's hit it.
All right.
So we've got the 16 millimeter router bit set up here in Origin. Reminder that the maximum router bit diameter to use with Origin is 1 inch, 25.4 millimeters in diameter. And that's to keep you safe while Origin uses its entire corrective range. We sell the 16 millimeter bit as the largest we stock in our own store. And we love it because I think it's a great balance of aggressiveness and material removal without getting too far away from you. Like pushing a 1 inch router bit with Origin, just like with any other router, it's removing a lot of material very quickly. So it's got a mind of its own at times. But the 16 millimeter bit, relatively easy to keep control of and really good for doing things like this big rabbit, for example, or big pockets, clearing out big areas in something like a tray or a bowl. See, Jake's keeping it pretty steady here. When you are doing an operation like this, half of Origin is going to be hanging off the side of your workpiece because he's coming right up to the edge. So you want to make sure that you have a reasonable amount of pressure down on the stable side of the router. You don't want to get tippy with this stuff. Origin is front weighted, so this back pass, even though it looks like half of Origin might be off of the work surface, this back pass is actually going to be very stable. You really want to keep the most care when you're doing things off to the right and off to the left. And that's it. Sounded pretty easy. Nice clean cut.
Beautiful.
Nice.
Peel that up.
Yeah, let's do it. Can we zoom in on that crisp cut quality on that reveal too? I don't know if we've got that on the side cam. Oh, Jake's got a mobile cam coming up here. Look at that. That's a nice reveal. Cork is chippier than I expected. This kind of threw cork everywhere.
Yeah. It slices for the most part.
It slices, but it looks like it comes off kind of in chunks,
Yeah.
right? Less like sawdust. It comes up in bits. But the edge quality looks really good.
It does. I'm sure there's different densities of cork too that you can play with.
Mm-hmm.
But that is pretty neat. And then we got our walnut outside front face cork
Yeah.
interior.
Let's peel the tape off of that. Looks really good, though. You could picture this in a panel door.
Yeah.
Mm.
There we go. Boom, there's our top curve.
Yeah. Oh, so nice.
Nice.
And that's the inside. Slick.
All right, there you go. Rail and style doors and cut and cork.
Amanda has a lot more info
Yes.
on this project on her YouTube channel. She posted a video last week on the first half or third of the build. She's got another video coming out shortly. So follow along with that. There are links to those YouTube videos in the Shaper Hub project. That'll teach you really everything you need to know. We covered maybe like 10 to 20% of this project.
Yeah.
Because she's got a really cool custom milled brass handle that she did with Origin. She's got really cool kerf bent panel templates that she built with Origin. The rest of the casework done with Origin as well. Really phenomenal work.
Yeah. I think
So,
she also makes
props.
her own quarter sawn material.
She makes her own quarter sawn material.
Yeah.
In kind of a mock-up way. There's a really neat tip for that, but I'm not going to ruin the surprise.
Yeah.
Check out her video. And that's at Sawdust Woman on Instagram. You'll be able to find everything from there also.
Excellent.
Cool.
Thank you.